I thought I had it all. A beautiful wife, a successful career, and a comfortable home in the suburbs. But there was always something missing, an excitement that eluded me in my day-to-day life. That all changed when we got new neighbors. Their arrival was nothing out of the ordinary. A moving truck parked out front, boxes being carried into the house. The usual commotion that comes with someone new moving into the neighborhood. I watched from our living room window as a middle-aged couple bustled about, organizing their belongings. As the days went on, my curiosity grew. I'd catch glimpses of our new neighbors through their windows or while walking to their car. They seemed like a perfectly normal couple, but there was something about the way she carried herself that intrigued me. She exuded confidence and sensuality in everything she did. From the way she walked to how she interacted with others. There was a magnetic energy about her that drew people in, myself included. I couldn't help but steal glances whenever I had the chance. Whether it was lounging by their pool or tending to her garden, there was always something captivating about her presence. Little did I know, this harmless infatuation would soon consume my every thought and desire. It started innocently enough, a friendly wave as we passed each other on our morning walks or striking up casual conversation over the backyard fence. But with each interaction, my attraction to her grew stronger. There was an undeniable chemistry between us that neither of us could ignore. It started with lingering eye contact and innocent touches during our conversations, a hand on my arm or playful nudges when joking around. I knew this was dangerous territory, but I couldn't resist her allure. We began finding excuses to spend more time together, sharing afternoon teas on our patios or going for long walks through the park. With each passing day, the sexual tension between us became more palpable. It was in the way she looked at me, her eyes dark with desire. It was in the way her voice would lower and take on a seductive tone whenever we were alone. I knew I was playing with fire, but I couldn't bring myself to walk away. The thrill of the forbidden made my heart race and my palms sweat. One hot summer day, while our spouses were at work, she invited me over for a swim. As soon as I stepped through her back door, the air crackled with anticipation. She led me out to the pool, her hips swaying seductively with each step. Before I knew it, our clothes were scattered across the patio and we were in each other's arms, kissing passionately as the sun beat down on us. Her touch was electric, sending shivers down my spine and making my pulse race. We explored each other's bodies with reckless abandon, completely lost in our shared desire. As we made love by the pool that day, I couldn't help but think about how this all started, a simple wave hello turning into something so much more intense and intoxicating. But even in this moment of pure bliss, a sense of unease lingered in the back of my mind. What would happen if our secret got out? How would it affect our marriages? These questions weighed heavily on me as we laid there together, basking in the afterglow of our passion. Little did I know that fate had its own plans for us. As summer turned into fall and our clandestine meetings continued behind closed doors, an unexpected twist would turn our world upside down. As the leaves began to change color and a cool breeze swept through the neighborhood, I found myself longing for her touch. Our encounters had become an addiction, each one more intense than the last. But our stolen moments were starting to take their toll. The worry about getting caught only fueled our passion. We turned every mundane location into a new place to explore each other's bodies, from parks to shopping malls. We had to have each other, and nothing else mattered as we lost ourselves in pleasure. But even in this moment of pure bliss, a sense of unease lingered in the back of my mind. What would happen if our secret got out? How would it affect our marriages? These questions weighed heavily on me as we laid there together, basking in the afterglow of our passion. Little did I know that fate had its own plans for us. As summer turned into fall and our clandestine meetings continued behind closed doors, an unexpected twist would turn our world upside down. It was a crisp autumn morning when I received a call from my wife that shattered everything. She told me that she had found out about us, about the affair that had consumed my every thought and desire for months. My heart sank as she spoke, each word crushing me further. She was devastated and angry, emotions that spilled out over the phone and reached through the line to grip my soul. I knew in that moment that everything had changed. The life I had built was crumbling around me, all because of this insatiable need for her. I rushed over to her house, desperate to understand how she had found out. But when I arrived at her doorstep, it wasn't anger or resentment that greeted me, it was fear. Her eyes were filled with tears as she pulled me inside and shut the door behind us. "They know," she whispered hoarsely. "Our spouses know." A wave of panic washed over me as I tried to comprehend the magnitude of what she was saying. How could they know? We had been so careful, so meticulous in covering our tracks. But as I looked into her eyes, I knew that it was true. We sat in silence for what felt like an eternity, the weight of the situation bearing down on us. The sound of a car pulling into the driveway snapped us out of our daze, sending a surge of adrenaline through my veins. "They're here," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "We need to talk." Before I could respond, the front door swung open and our spouses walked in. The look on their faces was a mix of anger, betrayal, and heartbreak, emotions that mirrored my own as I glanced at her. There was no denying it now. Our secret was out, and we were about to face the consequences of our actions. The room was filled with tension as our spouses stood there, stunned by the sight before them. Their shock was quickly replaced by a mixture of anger and hurt, their emotions palpable in the air. I locked eyes with my wife, seeing the pain etched on her face. It mirrored the guilt and regret that I knew must be showing on mine. We had both been caught in the web of our own desires, and now we had to face the consequences. She was the first to break the silence, her voice trembling with a mix of anger and sadness. "How could you do this to me?" she asked, her words directed at me but encompassing us both. I struggled to find an answer, my mind racing as I tried to comprehend the situation we found ourselves in. I looked over at her, searching for some kind of explanation in her eyes, but all I saw was a reflection of my own turmoil. "We're so sorry," she finally managed to say, her voice barely above a whisper. "We never meant for this to happen." Her words hung in the air, heavy with regret and longing. I could see the sincerity in her eyes, despite the betrayal that had led us here. In that moment, I realized that we were all victims of our own desires, prisoners of a passion that had consumed us completely. My wife's anger began to wane as she processed what was being said. She looked at me with a mixture of hurt and confusion, searching for some kind of reassurance that this wasn't all for nothing. "Do you love her?" she asked quietly, her voice filled with vulnerability. I hesitated for a moment before answering honestly. "Yes," I said softly. "But I still love you too." The room fell silent once again as my words settled between us. There were no easy answers or quick solutions to be found here, just raw emotion and painful truths. Her eyes met mine, and I could see the struggle within her. She wanted to believe me, to hold on to the love that had once been so strong between us. But it was clear that trust had been shattered, and rebuilding it would be a long and arduous journey. Our lovers watched as this silent exchange played out, their own guilt and longing etched on their faces. They were now intertwined in our lives in a way that none of us could have anticipated. The lines between love and lust blurred beyond recognition. Finally, my wife broke the silence, her voice filled with a mix of sadness and determination. "I don't know where we go from here," she said. "But I think we need to talk." There was a collective nod of agreement as we all realized that this was just the beginning of a long and difficult conversation. The road ahead would be filled with heartache, uncertainty, and difficult choices, but for better or worse, we were all in it together.